Great. All right, let's get started. So, I don't know how much background you guys have on who we are and what we do here at Guru, but I want to give you guys a wee little bit just to set a little bit of context. So, um, Guru's a pretty new company. We've been around for about 2 years, and our mission is to make it really easy to use all of the free stuff that's available online. So we noticed that there was an enormous amount of free open content being made available online. You know, everyone from publishers to software companies to libraries to museums was putting all this free stuff online with the intention that teachers out there would be using it somehow. And yet, there was so much of it, and it was so disorganized, and none of it was vetted. So, of course, teachers weren't using it, right? So, we had all this free stuff, way more educational material than has ever been available in the history of education. And paradoxically, there was no way to use it. So, all of the tools that we built in Guru were built around this idea of taking all that stuff out there and turning it into something useful for the classroom. And the solution that we stumbled upon over these past 2 years has been to go out there, find and index as much free educational content as we can find. Right now there's about 15 million resources that we've brought together and index in our search engine so that it's all discoverable. And then, of course, if you've played around with Guru at all, you'll be familiar with the idea of collections, which is building a playlist of resources so that you could combine, a great video from NASA with an interesting quiz published by another company and turn it into something that wasn't just a bunch of disjointed little concepts strewn across the internet. Turn it into something that was a real lesson with multiple concepts that all tie together, and your own voice as a teacher shining through on top of all that. So that's the big picture of what we're trying to do with Guru. Quick plug for us, we are a nonprofit. We're up here in Palo Alto, California, and our mission is to honor the human right to education by making educational content more accessible for people all around the world. Most people don't know this about us, but we actually started in a couple of villages in India as a project of connecting rural village classrooms with more well-connected classrooms in urban centers. And that's really what our mission comes down to, which is everything that we create being free, open. You won't find any ads on our website, although since we do index 15 million different resources, you will find some ads in those. Anyhow, that's who we are. Do you guys have any questions about the big picture stuff before I jump in?
No, that's good.
Great, okay. So, wanted to start off, just to make things clear. I don't know if you guys have seen collections before, but I thought this might be a good place to start. Just show you guys an example of something you could make in Guru. So I have 4 examples here. Let's see, we got a science one, English one, social studies one, a math one. Anything grabbing anyone's attention? Just yell it out.
The Silk Road looks good.
Cool, let's check it out. Okay, and this is going to take me over to Guru. And I think I heard that someone else joined us. Oh, yeah, we got Linda joined us. Hi, Linda. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, how you doing?
Great. Linda, where are you calling in from today?
I'm calling from Massachusetts.
Wonderful. Okay, well, I'm glad you could join us. Did you catch much of what I was just going over? It was
I'm fine.
sort of the fluffy, fluffy spiel. So, I'm going to jump in and we'll walk through Guru a little bit. So, we're looking at a collection. This is the URL of the collection. Something I made. It's just got a couple resources in it. And it's a playlist of different web resources that I found across Guru. So I could send my students here, they click study to get started, and right away it jumps into
Hi
the
there,
first video.
I'm Sean Green. This is Crash Course World.
And you can see this is a YouTube video, but it's presented in this different format. It's presented through the Guru player. So you can see it's full screen. We've taken out some of the annoying things like suggested videos that often lead students astray. And you can see that I've added some instructions up here at the top to give a little context to what students are viewing, so that as they're watching this, they know what to look for and they're aware that this isn't just a YouTube video. This is something that's part of my classroom. I'm going to the next resource just by clicking this little button here. And what I've got here, once it loads, is just a digital textbook that I found, which if let students go a little more in depth with what they saw in the first video. And once again, I've got more instructions up there in the top. And I can just keep on going through these. And you can see I've put in a bunch of different resources, all of which sort of touch on a different aspect of the same concept in slightly different ways. But all throughout, I've got my narration guiding students. I've been using these little things to pop around, but I can also just click on navigation up here, and I can jump between them with this little table of contents. So we'll go on to the next one. And then I've finished it up with a quick multiple choice question, which I wrote and put in here. And this is just a quick check for understanding question. At the moment, student responses don't get recorded and sent back to you. That's something that we're working on developing at the moment, but as we speak right now, this is really just a check for understanding exercise for students. Sounds like we got someone else who joined us. No, never mind. Do you guys want to help me answer this question? I didn't actually teach you anything on the Silk Road because we just flew through those guys, but maybe you guys happen to have a good guess. In what century was the term the Silk Road coined? And we've got 1st, 11th, 15th, 19th. Any guesses?
I'm thinking the 15th. That's a total guess.
All right, let's check it out. We got next, so that's not right. I added some little hints in there, so that'll help us maybe answer a little better. So the term was coined by a German cartographer is our first hint. You have another guess?
Let's go with A.
1st century. No, not quite. Let's get another hint. The term was coined 20 centuries after the first Chinese missions.
11.
Well, we've got either B 11th or D 19th. Either way, we'll know what the right answer is after we answer this one.
B.
All right, it was actually 19th.
Ah.
Process of elimination, we got there. And I've got a little explanation here, which if you want to read, it wasn't a term that was invented until 1877. So I guess it wasn't a term that was used when the Silk Road was actually a existing phenomenon. So if you learn nothing else today during our talk, at least you know something about the Silk Road at the end of this. Okay, so that's what that collection was. You can see it was just 3 or 4 resources, each of them from a different source, and really each of them approach the same concept in a slightly different way. So the idea here is that if I wanted to use any of these individual resources, I'm not sure I would take the effort to get my students on a device, either some in the computer lab or use classroom devices, to look at any single one of these resources, right? Each of them was kind of cool, but none of them was really a powerful resource standing alone. But bringing them together and adding in my narration and adding in the questions that I did, it turns it into more of a complete learning experience that's more worthy of my students' time. And it also sort of, by including different types of things, videos, texts, interactives, it lets me engage different student learning styles. So that's the whole idea here, is that the teacher in this situation is a curator of the content that's out there. The content already exists, but it takes a teacher to pull it together and build it into something that's a valuable lesson for their students. Now, if I was watching this, and I happened to make this one, but if I was just viewing this, and I liked this collection, I wanted to use it in my own classroom, I could just click Add right there, and it saves it to my own account, and I get a copy of this that I can edit. I can take out any resources I don't like, I can add in any other stuff that I want to add in, and I can make it my own. So the whole idea here is that if you make a collection and you decide to make it public, it puts it out there into the world where people can iterate upon it, where they can create better stuff, where they can create personalized stuff. So you're really contributing to this whole community of educators out there. Do you have any questions about this specific part of Guru, just the collection experience?
Do students have to have Guru accounts in order to access the information?
Great question. They don't. So to view this, you don't need any account. The only thing you need an account for in Guru, you can view any collections you like, and you can use our search engine without an account. You need an account if you want to be saving collections or resources, right? So I needed an account to save this myself. But a student who's going through this, they don't need an account just to view it. Great question. Okay. So I thought for the next little bit, I could just take you to gurulearning.org, and we could learn how to make something like that collection that we just saw. Does that sound good? And you guys can feel free, great, you guys can feel free to follow along on your own screen, or just wait till all this is over and muck around yourself. So I'm going to search for something to teach. Let's say photosynthesis. And if I search for photosynthesis, you can see I get a ton of different resources from across the internet that automatically pop up. So quite a few. You can see just like in Google, I got pages, so at least 9 pages. If I want to look at any of these, I just click on it. Right? And if this is something that I like, if I like this article, just like I did on that collection, I'll just click Add. And I can either add it to one of my collections that I already have. I don't have one on photosynthesis, so I'm going to make a new collection, call this my photosynthesis collection. I can say, let's say it's for 8th grade. These are all optional, I don't need to set this. And this is what I was talking about with the privacy settings. Public ones, as I said earlier, other people can find and remix for their own classroom. If that happens, it won't affect this original one, but it's something that is public for other people using the search engine. If I want just my students to be able to see it, I'll just make it shareable though, and that way I can just share the URL of this, and it's not going to be in the search engine or anything, but it will be something I can share. Okay. And click X to get out of here, and there's my new collection right here on the right, photosynthesis, with my one resource in it. Now let's say, okay, so I've got this article in here, but I kind of want to get some other types of resources in here. I want to get a video in here. So these filters on the left let me do that. I'm click on videos right here. And now I've just got videos related to photosynthesis. Okay, so this guy right here looks like it might be valuable.
About one of the most important.
That's a familiar sound. That's Cell Khan. So this is a Khan Academy video. If I want to add this one, just add it into my photosynthesis right there. I can also add in resources by dragging them over. So I can drag them over onto my photosynthesis collection if I want to just add it in that way. We have 9 different resource types here that you can filter by. So we've got videos, websites, interactives, questions, slides, textbooks, handouts, lessons, and exams. So lots of stuff to choose from. Let's add in something interactive. Okay, cool. And this is like a chlorophyll concentration map of the world, which is kind of cool. I'm going to add this one to photosynthesis. Cool. I can also filter according to source. So I saw those Khan Academy ones earlier. If I wanted to only see Khan Academy sources, I could just type it in here. You can also filter by standard. All the Common Core state standards are just in here for math and ELA. We also have a lot of the Texas, the TEAC standards, and some of the California science standards. We're working on pulling in other ones further down the line. All right, so I've got some questions here. Can students aggregate their resources? So students who have their own accounts, they can create their own collections to aggregate resources. If you don't have an account, you cannot. But if they do, they can. At the moment, there is no indication of reading level, but that's a great suggestion. And that's actually something I'm going to take down a note of to give to our designers. because we are building this out. Actually, everything I'm showing you right here was mostly released this June, so it's pretty brand new. And we're very, very open to getting suggestions on how we can improve the search and make it more useful. So reading level is something that would be very useful. I'm going to make a note of that. So this is resource search. I can also search for entire collections just by clicking collection search. And here's some collections other people have made. I can play them by clicking on them. I can save them by dragging them over here. And now I'm going to go and I'm going to edit this collection I just made. Click edit, and you can see it's bumped me over from this tab where I was in Discover, which was the search engine. It's bumped me over to this tab Organize, which is where I can play with my collection. So on this page I can rearrange these resources. So let's start with the video. We'll head into the article, and then we'll have this little interactive guy right there. I can add in any instructions I like. So let's say, watch this video and write 3 questions. If I like, this was a pretty long video, I think. This was like 10 minutes. I can say I want this to start only at minute 1 and go to minute 2. That's the part I want to see. Are the collections mostly science and social studies? So at the moment, Guru's main index is for math, English language arts, social studies, and math, science, English language arts, and social studies. So the 4 core subjects, there's a lot of stuff that goes outside of it, but that's the main beef of it. And at the moment, it's mostly 4th grade through 12th grade. So we're still adding our kindergarten through 3rd grade content in. That'll be coming, we're hoping, by the end of this semester. So that's not to say that you won't find stuff outside of that area, but for the most part, the search engine does prioritize those subjects. Good question. Okay. I can also add in resources that I didn't find in Guru. So let's say there is a video on photosynthesis that I've been using for 5 years that I really love. I wish it was in this collection. I can just type the URL right in there, and it'll add it in with my other stuff. I can add questions in, like I showed you earlier, what those multiple choice questions look like. And I can place that in. Let's say, what is photosynthesis? Let's say plants converting sunlight into sugars, or plants converting sugars into sunlight. Correct answer. Just add that guy in there. And now I've got this question, which I'm going to bump this one up to right after the first video. I can edit the learning objectives. I can add a nice picture if I like, if I really want to make this nice. But then if I'm ready to share this and I like the way this looks, I'll just go over to share right here. And if I'm already using a learning management system, or if I'm using email, I can just share this URL with my students. If I have a class website, I can embed this with this code right here. Or there's these little widgets right here which let me just email it out right from here. However, what I really want to do is I've been posting a lot of collections, and I want my students to be able to come to the one spot. So I'm going to go over to the Teach tab right here. And these are what I call my my class pages. These are class websites that I've created with Guru. And let's say I already have one for 7th grade life science. That's where I want to post this right here and create as many as I like. This is my 7th grade life science class page. And I'm going to add a collection. I'm going to add an assignment. I'm going to say this is my photosynthesis unit. Due on the 13th. And I'm going to add in that collection I just made. And now my students can come to this page either by going to this URL right here, or, and this is kind of cool, there's this 7-letter code right here. And if I ask my students, go to gurulearning.org, click on study, and enter that code, they'll be taken automatically to my page and they'll see my assignments in here. This also works with our iPad app, which came out recently. You can have students go directly to your class page with that app. That's just called Guru in the iPad App Store. Bitly is blocked at my district. Can you choose another service like TinyURL? That is good feedback. So at the moment, Bitly is what we use. I would say to get around that, what you're going to want to do is you just want to click on the URL and send them the full URL. And you can shorten that if you like. At the moment, it is suggested in Bitly, and I'm sure that's pain. That's good feedback that it's blocked in your district. So what I would do is, instead of using this URL, click Preview. And there's my collection. I can just send them this, which is the URL of my collection. Will the videos play on the iPad app without Flash? So any videos that are not flashable, YouTube videos, for example, will play. There are a lot of Flash resources in Guru, so that is something to look out for if you are using the iPad app. And that's just something that you'll have to keep in mind. And it's good to test your app. Good to test, make sure that all the resources in your collection work on the iPad before you assign it to your students on the iPad. Okay, so let's have a look at that collection I just made. We'll see what we made right here. I'm just going to preview this guy. There's that video. Starts out at minute 1 like I asked it to. There's my question. Who got it right? My article. The cool interactive map on Earth's chlorophyll concentrations, which I can play around with. And then a final video.
Nice. In addition to the complexes.
So that's how you would build a collection and assign it, and all that covered 90% of the things that you'll find in Guru. Did you guys have any questions? Is there any part of that that you'd like me to go back over? I know I kind of flew through a lot of stuff pretty quickly there.
Is there a manual or a PDF file that is printable to know so that I can refer back to it?
Sure. So if you click on Help right here, it'll launch this little Guru guide, and it'll walk you through the different things I just showed you. So you can see, here's the search screen, there's the organize screen, there's the class pages, and there's the study experience. So that's the best place to go. I can also send you, if you'd like print out materials, I'll send you our set of materials that we usually use for trainings.
That would be perfect.
Great. Okay, well, I'll send all that stuff out to you guys when we wrap up today. So that's essentially the tour. If you guys would like to play around for a little bit and ask me any questions as you go along, feel free to. I'm going to hang out for a bit. If you guys have any questions or any feedback, any more suggestions on things that you'd like to see in Guru, just feel free to let me know.
May I ask another couple questions?
Of course.
You said it starts with about 3rd grade?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Actually, 4th grade at the moment, although we're building out 3rd through kindergarten, or kindergarten through 3rd.
And that should be at the end of this semester, so around, winter, January?
Yeah, that's what we're expecting. Yeah.
Okay. And the assessment tool on it is also in development so that the scores will go to the teacher eventually?
That's right, yeah. We're actually working with a school district down in Southern California right now, and they're giving us a lot of feedback on how they'd like that to work for them. So hopefully we'll be able to get an assessment system that's more robust relatively soon. I don't know what the exact timeline is on that, but that's definitely one of the priorities that we're working on fixing right now.
Obviously, the Common Core is a big issue, and you have the lessons tied to Common Core standards.
That's right, yeah. So you can search by Common Core state standard if you like. We use, just the codes right here that you can type in.
Okay.
And if I created something, let's go back to my photosynthesis collection. If I click on info, I can add in a Common Core state standard. So this one is right now tied to a California science standard, which of course that is soon to be replaced by next generation learning, our next generation science standards. But at the moment, that's our science standards list that we have right now. I can also add in Common Core state standards. So, let's say this relates to this guy right here, develop claims and counterclaims. And then when a teacher searched for something with this and wanted to find something for this Common Core state standard, they would see my collection.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, good question. So, search challenge students. So we are slowly building that up. The ability to recognize misspelled words, for example. It's not quite there, I would say. I think if we search for Civil War, I don't think we're going to find much. So that's something that takes that we're hoping to develop a smarter search as we go along. It's not quite there yet, though, at the moment, I would say. And I would say that while this doesn't do a lot of that hard work for you, it is a pretty good place for students to experiment with finding good search terms. This is a safe space for students to work in, so we actually often recommend that teachers use this as a research project tool for their students. We've had a lot of great results with students building their own collections. Actually, the most robust learning outcomes that we've found with students, with teachers or students using Guru, is when the students use Guru to find resources and construct their own lessons. So I would say, if you're trying to teach good searching skills, this is a safe spot and a good starting place for students to learn how things like search engines work. I actually don't know Vivissimo. I don't know. Is Vivissimo something that you used yourself?
Going off mute. Yes, and it would do things like when you typed in Civil War, it would give you Civil War in what country, and then it would give you topics like the role of women soldiers.
Oh, great.
In the Civil War, there were hundreds of women who actually disguised themselves as men in order to physically fight. And
that's fantastic.
Kids just off on that sort of stuff, but they don't think of it at first. So having that clustering aspect was really, really good.
That's good to know. I'll have to check that out. That sounds really valuable. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, so at the moment, the search is pretty straightforward. You can search for key terms that might show up in the title or description of a resource, and you can also search for usernames. But outside of that, it's relatively simple. Great. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you guys need to move on, feel free. That's all I had to show you guys. Of course, I will also be sticking around to answer any questions that you guys have. So feel free to hang out, play around. That might be what you're already doing. But either way, I'll be hanging out. But thank you guys so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been great to meet all of you guys, and I hope you guys will stay in touch. You guys have my email address. It's andrew@gurulearning.org. And if you have any questions about using Guru for yourself, about sharing it with colleagues or students, about things that you would like to see updated in the system, new features you'd like to see, please feel free to stay in touch. This is definitely a project that is still relatively new and is still continuing to grow based on feedback from teachers, tech administrators, people all across the education world. So definitely keep in touch. I'll send you guys a list of text resources that you can use to share this stuff with your colleagues. And I'll also send you guys a recording of everything we did today so you guys can revisit this if this is something that you're interested in going further with.